What up, everybody? Y'all know who this is. Toriano, ObaShango-El, aka the Wild Apache, aka Wild Ass Moore, a number of other things, man. Chimex, my friends and family call me. I'm doing this video today basically because I have a couple of things on my mind that I've been seeing people say in social media, things of that nature, about the whole Black Lives Matter movement, about calling the United States of America a country and things of that nature. And basically, I just want to give my 2 cents about the whole thing. We have to understand that, number one, the law says the principal part of everything is the beginning. So we have to actually attack these issues from the root source. And when I say the root source, I'm actually talking about historically and antiquity in time. I'm not going to take you back too far, but I am going to discuss who we are on this land and a lot of the sites and archaeological artifacts that have come forth in evidence of supporting who we are on this land. Now, when we look at the site of the Pygmy Skulls 40,000 years ago in Tennessee, eastern Tennessee, the Topper site 51,700 years ago, South Carolina, the Texas Street site 80 to 90,000 years ago in California, the Calico site in the Mojave Desert, about 190, 200,000 years ago, somewhere in there. The Serra de Capivara site in Brazil, about 100,000 years ago. The Toca de Esperanza site in Brazil, about 295,000 years ago. And the Miramar archaeological finds by Florentino Ameghino, 3 to 5 million years ago. We're very ancient in this land. This was long before there were any people known as Native Americans who have what they call the Mongoloid phenotype, that look like today's modern Chinese, Koreans, Japanese, things of that nature. It's also before the existence of pale skin. You can go read this by Dr. Keith Chang. One of the ones I usually refer to a lot is Professor Emeritus at Stanford University, Dr. Luigi Luca Cavalli-Sforza, and also Dr. Sheikh Anta Diop in Civilization of Barbarism. He tells you that the mesocephalic and brachycephalic skull types are young as far as what the Asiatic proto-Mongoloid looks like. You know, it's very young. So long before they was even over here on this land, we were already here for hundreds of thousands up to millions of years. Now, this is scientifically proven, it's archaeologically proven, so there's no even need to debate that. Now we need to start analyzing what's called the Age of Empires. The Age of Empires is where you start looking at the various empires that came out of Mesopotamia, the empires that Kush had actually established, or Ta-Nehisi, dealing with what's now modern day known today as Ethiopia. Then that would be also into the Mesopotamia areas, Sumer, Akkad, and all those various places. Elam, those people were over here. You can go look up artifacts like the Magna Fuente Bowl, you'll find it had Proto-Elamite written on it, all of those type things. When you took a talk about the Tassiti, which is now today known as Sudan or Nubia Kush area in antiquity, you'll find out, man, that they were over here. They found 134 mummies with American cocaine and tobacco in their systems. So, I mean, These things is no secret. And we're not even going to go into Heirship, Kemet, Kush, whatever you want to call it. Yes, they was over here. All of that's during the Age of Empires. We were here prior to that. We're older than that on these lands here. Now, when you start also looking at what they call the Canaanite, Phoenician, Carthaginian, Punic Iberian Empire, all those people are the same people based by blood, you know. And basically, man, it's beautiful day outside. Hot, beautiful. South, man, you gotta love it. All them people are basically the same people. We already know that Hanno the Navigator, one of the great ancestors of Hannibal of Carthage, had come over here, placed the Born Stone, Punic Iberian writing. One of the great Moors, peace be upon him, he's already transcended. Prince Elimus Uriel Bey of the Admortium, Kingdom of Admortium, he already laid the foundation for that as far as history. We do know that Morocco came out of that empire. Morocco are the same people. So we also know that around about 450, about the mid-5th century, Moroccans had come over here and built the first church in what is known today as America. Now, 480, roughly 480 AD, they left a monument in eastern Morocco in the Fiqwig Mountains, Hajj Mamoun Rock, that called this place Asqu Shamal, which means the northern land, or the land lying beyond the sunset, the continent lying beyond the sunset. Okay, that is a landmark. We already know churches, ancient structures are landmarks. And especially if this was the first church built in the Americas, then this is a monumental landmark, and they have it recorded in Morocco. And yes, it is Moroccans who built this. So when you talk about landmarks, and they named the land as well, Asqu Shamal, the continent lying beyond the sunset, or the northern land. He who names it claimed it. And it has a landmark to substantiate that. So now what we are actually looking at is, this is Western Morocco. As Islam had taken power in Morocco, so did also the substantiated claims by prior establishments. They took over those. The religion doesn't change a person's right to anything. It doesn't change that. It doesn't change what has gone on in history. So, where am I going with all this? Well, you're probably asking that. We're looking at now serious issues, man, where people are starting to lose their lives over misnomers. People think that they have power over other people by a misnomer that they proudly wear. Well, I have news for you. Adjectives have no substantiation in law whatsoever. Only nouns. Only nouns. Nouns are the subjects of rights, not adjectives. If you go back to the ancient languages, Sanskrit, Latin, what they call Greek, Latin ain't nothing really but the alphabet is the Proto-Canaan. It comes out of Canaanites. This we know. Medu-Neter, all of these ancient languages, Elamite, they didn't play games like that, where a noun could be an adjective and all. No, the word substantiated itself what it was. That's what it was. It didn't flip-flop. Only in this bastardization of a language that we speak, called English, which is a combination of Old and Middle German, Old High German, Middle German, Sanskrit, Latin, Arabic, French, all of these things. It's a bastardization, it's hybridization. Can you find games being played with language like that? So now people think that they have power because they call themselves white. Well, adjectives once again have no substantiation. The only thing that you have right then is within a nationality. If you do not have a nationality, man, you what's called an international bastard. An international bastard is one who has no father nation or even a mother nation, because I'm not patriarchal. I'm not matriarchal. I believe, man, that both genders play their roles. But you have no nation from which you descend. United States is good at that. Right now, it's being ran by international bastards. They have no mother, father nation, paperwork-wise, from which they descend. They're quick to call themselves adjectives and be proud of it. Okay, now, with the whole Black Lives Matter thing, you're dead at law. You are dead at law. You are dead at law because you have subscribed to adjectives that colonizers have placed upon you. Whether it was Negro, colored, African American, Black, Afro American. These things, man, have no substantiation. Number one, you can't be African and American. Number one. Number two, those are two continents. Africa is made up of like 54 nations, I think. So you have to have a national pedigree from which you descend over there. America is made up of several nations. South America and Central America and the Caribbean. And, you have to have a nation from which you descend. Prior to that, in antiquity, Carthage, Hanno the Navigator, had already annexed this land with the Born Stone, saying a proclamation of annexation, do not deface. With this, Hanno takes possession. He annexed from Alaska all the way down to Chile, the whole entire Western Hemisphere, to the Punic Iberian Carthaginian Empire in the east. Okay, their children, the Moroccan Empire, prior to Islam, did the same thing when they named the land and put the church here. Just reestablishing what they call in law tact title. Tact title is when you tack a junior claim onto a senior claim to defeat any intermediate claims. It nullifies them. So, with that being said, the land is Morocco today. This is Western Morocco, where you stand. For those who want to pump their fists and scream Africa, you're in Africa. Not geographically, but politically, and in the dominions of an African nation. Underneath, let's establish something else, what's called Jus Soli. Jus Soli is the law of soil. The law of soil, born into the dominions of something, some nation, or some empire. Just like Yeshua HaMashiach in the Bible. His blood pedigree or bloodline was Moabite and Yisrael, or Canaanite and Yisrael. That was his blood descent. But the lands had become subsumed under the dominions of the Roman Empire. So by blood, he was Canaanite, Moabite, Yisrael, those people. By soil, he was a Roman. This is what we're dealing with. By blood, who are we upon this land? We are Paleo-American, autochthonous aborigines from antiquity. Archaeology says it. The DNA, the genetics say it. The phenotypical descriptions of the colonizers coming over here says it. Dominion-wise, law of soil, we are Moroccans. We're born into the dominions of the Moroccans. Prior to that, we was Carthaginians. So, now, the colonizers did a good job in tricking people that they call Latino, Black, Indian, and all of that, because they're looking at these ancient inscriptions and they know that the people on these reservations didn't leave these. They know this from North to South America. So they're looking at the aspect of, where are the people who left these? This is what they're looking at. Well, we know it's not those people. And what they started doing was they started naming people. Once again, he who names it claims it. So I can take you out to Toltec Mounds right now on the summer solstice, any given year. And there's a mound due west, directly in line with the sunset, When the sun goes down, or when the sun appears to set in the sky, it sits on top of the mound. Exactly. Just like the eye on the back of the fiat dollar, the Federal Reserve note, letting you know, yes, we're the people that built that. Not only that, this prior to that, this was Western Kemet, this was Western Kush, all of that. So we're dealing with, the age of empires under you, Soli. Who are the people today in relation to those landmarks? Because they couldn't move the landmarks. You have to understand that. Landmarks or monuments, the law says monuments, which we call records, are vestiges of truth and antiquity. That means they are legal documents. Toltec Mounds is a legal document. The Born Stone is a legal document. The Moroccan 5th century church built in Kukaponset Forest, Connecticut is a legal document. You can't move those. And it's also an ecclesiastical document because it goes into landmarks in Proverbs 22:28, Proverbs 23:10, Deuteronomy chapter 19 verse 14, Deuteronomy chapter 27 verse 17, and that's even substantiated underneath United States statutes at large, 96 stat 1211, public law 97 stat 280, 97-280. It's substantiated. They can't move the landmarks. What they did was they moved the people. They moved the people by classification and denationalization. If you go and read the letter of George Washington to the Sultan, George Washington was thanking the Sultan for allowing them to use the Sultan's dominions for their agriculture and their commerce. The United States has never been without a staple of slaves. We weren't slaves, we was captured prisoners of war. Okay, now, the thing about it is this right here. If you are on someone else's land and they allow you to use the land for agriculture and commerce, that is called a usufruct. You have the right to use the land and enjoy the fruits of the labor that the land brings forth, but you cannot damage the land. They were never supposed to be fracking, digging for coal, oil, natural gas, none of that type of stuff. Gold, silver, copper, uranium, none of that type of stuff. And they're still not to this day. The reason why they're doing is because they removed you away as the beneficiaries of the land via fraudulent classification due to denationalization, starting with the birth certificate at the beginning. So you have to put yourself back into a position of law as to where you are able to speak and stand forth, have standing in claims when it comes to property, when it comes to real or personal property, when it comes to dealing with land, all of these things. So therefore, you get yourself out of that status of being an adjective and step back into being a noun, where therefore you can deal in substantive law because it deals with the rights and obligations as it pertains to people, and property is also a subject. Now, when we look at the word rights, right, if you go look up right is a noun, and Black's Law Dictionary will tell you it's a noun. So therefore, we have to understand that we have the right to discuss rights because why? It falls into that substantive branch. Rights of property. That means they are able to be owned. Now, Black Lives Matter is not going to secure any rights because it can't. It's not going to obtain any rights because it can't. Based on the law in and of itself, it is dead. Whites, the same thing. You have no nationality from which you descend via the corporate United States paperwork and their 50 corporate subsidiaries called the states of their paperwork. You have no nationality from which you descend. Now that you know the truth that the United States of America was established as a usufruct, it's built on top of the Moorish Empire. The treaty was not made with the Kingdom of Morocco. It was made with the Moroccan Empire. Go and read it. The highest you can obtain in the United States is that of whatever deals with the usufruct. You have no land. This is not your land. Citizens of the United States of America and the various 50 subsidiaries, you don't own land. Irregardless of how long your people may have been over here, the church is older. 1,012 years before Columbus. So you could never own the land. They lied to you. The most you can do is be agriculturalists and reap the benefits of the goods that you produce and sell. Eventually, once the truth gets out even more, they're going to enforce it because the United States is in debt up to its hair follicles. And y'all are the surety for the debt. Whites, blacks, Latinos, all of those adjectives and then legal fictions. You're the surety for the debt. And you are a chattel property. You are international bastards. You have no nation or no pedigree from which you descend. So therefore, being that you are chattel, somebody's holding title over you. You're a movable property, and therefore, man, you can be moved here or there. If China comes over here and sets up a working factory, and the United States has to pay that debt, they can come in your house, take you, and put you in there and make you work. You have no rights. You're up underneath the 14th Amendment, which was never ratified. The Georgia State Archives tell you that. The Utah State Supreme Court case of Dodd versus Turner clearly expresses that in 1968. And the congressional records of 1967, 14th Amendment, equal protection of the law or tool of usurpation, also clearly expresses that. So therefore, you have that going against you, but you consented to it. You have the bankruptcy statements of Louis T. McFadden, congressional records, Henry Gonzalez, congressional records, James Trafficking Jr., congressional records, 1932, 1992, and 1993 consecutively clearly expresses that you're bankrupt. And you have the inaugural address records of Franklin Delano Roosevelt of 1933, 1937, 1941 that clearly said now that your permanent way of life from that point on forward is that of a democracy, thereby placing you outside of the law. Ultra vires of the Constitution. And the laws person went there too. And it says one outside of the law. An outlaw is civilly dead, civiliter mortuus. So we're dealing with rogues and a usufruct. That's what we're dealing with. And they're dead at law. They have no nationality plus the other things I mentioned, historical records. And they are trying to keep the natural heirs of the land, misnomered as Latinos, blacks, African Americans, West Indians, American Indians, from claiming who they are. You Soli, we are Moroccans. And you Soli, you Sanguinus, those phenotypical Oceanian Africoid phenotype with Paleo-American autochthonous aborigines from antiquity. So get it together, peoples. Leave that dead at law shit alone. Correct your status. Proclaim your nationality. I'm an advocate and a proponent of DNA. Why? Because there's certain markers in the DNA that show that you were the first ones here, and through admixture, you mixed in with other people as they came. So, and also you need to look up identity by state and identity by descent. It's very interesting. Get it together. Leave those dead in law legal fictions alone. Declare who you are. Correct your status in accordance with the land, because right now they say that you're not tied to those landmarks because you proclaim that you are Negro and all of this type of stuff. and African American and Latino and all of those type things. They have to respect the landmarks. How they got over here was the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery was issued by the Vatican, the Pope. The Pope follows canon law. He writes his papal bulls based on that. Canon law is based off of the Bible or natural law, and they tell you that. Go and look it up. He follows the Bible. The Bible is based off the laws of Ma'at. Ma'at is based off of natural law. So they know they can't touch the landmarks, but they can remove the people. If they got over here by the doctrine of discovery based on papal bulls, and they are a usufruct, they could never own the land. Correct who you are. Stop fucking around. Time is getting short. These people already know something. That's why they're killing you in the streets like this. They're killing heirs. They're not killing African Americans or Negroes or these people that they say are Latinos. They're killing heirs to the land. You have a vast estate. Noble Drew Ali, all he had to do was show up at that 1928 Pan American Conference in his proper person. They say, oh, okay, bam, we got the landmarks. So, you're the one that put them there. Your people did. The heir is one and the same with the ancestor. The law tells you that too. Same people. So, by default, the land had to go to him. He showed up in his proper status. And he who owns the soil, the law also says, he who owns the soil owns up to the sky and down to the depths of the earth. So, get it together. Get it together. You know, we should be so much further. I do understand that there were sellouts in the movement who took payment to keep the fraud of the Euro colonists going. But there's a saying amongst Muslims: Shaitan plans and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. So those who did that will get their just reward as well for selling out the people. Keep the truth from them. So, hey, how you doing now? Doing all right? Oh, I'm just making a video, man. I'm good. So, with that being said, you know, I really don't know what else to say. I don't even know what else. I mean, I've been saying this stuff for so long, telling people, you know, they have no power. They don't even have any status of equity. Equity will not support a crime. Equity doesn't support crimes. To get equity, you have to come with clean hands. A worker of iniquity cannot receive equity. So therefore, they have no claims. When these police are shooting people in the streets, you need to ask them about their bond. They don't even have a bond. Fiat bonds are no good because it has to be backed by substance. It has to be backed by substance. Real money. If you deal in that constitution, you have to have real money. Not fiat. All of their bonds are 1933 and forward democracy. That's a democracy bond. That's a fiat bond. It's not backed by anything. So they're not even really officers. They're private security guards. That's it. And how I know that to be a fact? Because I do my due diligence. There's an elder, I'm not gonna call his name, but he was over at the gun shop about 5 years ago. And he was talking with the gun owner of Don's weapon shop over in North Little Rock. And there was a policeman in there. And you know, they were saying, man, y'all really need to be careful. Times is getting bad, you know. And he said, Mr. Mike, you got your gun on you. I know you ride your motorcycle a lot. Well, I just called his name, but still don't know him. They said, well, yeah, he always keeps his gun with him. So the police comes over to him, cocky European. You got a permit for that gun? He said, I sure do. He said, yeah, I'm licensed to carry. He said, I got a question for you. Gold or silver? What are you talking about? Gold or silver? Gold or silver? He said, what's back in your bond, silver or gold? He said, I don't know anything about that. He said, well, in order for you to be a police officer, you got to have a bond backed by gold or silver. Well, the funny part about it is, it just so happened there was another guy in the gun shop who was a lawyer. An attorney, a liar, because that's what they are. He calls the police over to him. He says, hey man, come here for a minute, let me talk to you. Said, kind of tried to whisper, but he was still overheard. He said, I don't know where old boy got that information, but he's telling you some real shit, man. You need to be careful out there. If anybody else know the type of information, they can fuck you up pretty bad, man. He said, he's telling you the truth about that. So, the police officer turned all red and walked on out the gun shop. Then the lawyer tried to slick his way on over to the elder. Say, hey, you know, strike up old basic ass conversation. Hey, man, that was some real information you told that policeman back there. He said, where'd you learn that? The elder said, I read. I study. He said, and he said, why you ask? Well, I'm a lawyer. He said, oh, you are? He said, well, you know, to play in that courtroom, you're supposed to be bonded too, in gold or silver. The lawyer slid his ass on off like the snake he was. So I say all that to say this: these people calling themselves policemen. Hey, how you doing, elder? All right. These people calling themselves policemen. They're in the democracy. Fraud number one. They're under the 14th Amendment. Fraud number two. They're under the bankruptcy. Fraud number three. Bankrupts are civilly dead. And they're either white or black. Fraud number four. Adjectives have no rights. Substantive law don't apply to them. They're dead at law. Number five. No bond. So, if you were in your proper person, so-called blacks, so-called Latinos, so-called Indians, so-called even white people, because they're getting gunned down too in the streets. If you were in your proper person, now you're dealing with murder by a police officer. 18 USC 241, 242, go look them up. Title 18 USC 1581 through 1585, go look them up. Their courts, they're underneath the same thing I just gave you. RICO, racketeering, influence, corrupt organizations, that's what they are. They can get hit with that because they're outside of the law. Those are RICO operations. Y'all need to go look this stuff up and correct your status. They want to see who is in accordance with the land underneath use solely. They already know who we are, use sanguinis. The DNA takes care of that. They want to know who you are, use solely, because they can only deal with the level that they were created from, which is a usufruct within the dominions of the empire. Go and look it up. Everything I told you, don't take shit I said out of my mouth. Go and research it for yourself. And you public officials out there who may get whiff of this, some of y'all already know who I am. Y'all done dealt with me personally. I tell you this, any given day, you want to challenge what I say, put your pen to the paper, go underneath penalties of perjury. Make sure your status is correct. Don't come to me as no adjective. Because I'm going to test you. I'm going to test you. Make sure you come to me in the proper jurisdiction. Don't come to me bankrupt in your public position. Make sure what you say to counterclaim what I'm saying is underneath penalties of perjury. So I can make you burn, baby, burn like disco inferno. Burn slow. Y'all know the rest. But come to me in proper person with a nationality, because that's going to tell me where you're from. That's going to tell me you sanguineous, where you're from. You so Lee, you're underneath the empire whether you like it or not. We really don't care what you like. Facts are facts. Make sure you got some real money back in your name underneath that oath. Put your money, hey, put your money up. Pimp C said money on the wood makes the bed good. And y'all taking advantage, man, of people, and it's not right. It's got to stop. Y'all playing on people's ignorance, but y'all gonna have to help it stop. Y'all gonna have to start doing some studying. Quit marching. We done that enough. You march, man, you till your shoes run over. You're now walking on the corner of the shoe. That's done become the soul now. Cut that shit out, man. This is where it's at. Up here. This is what they fear. And when you can execute what's up here on that paper, the pen has always been mightier than the sword. Look at the Pope. That's how they got over here, through paper bulls. So, quit playing, get your knowledge up, and come out of those dead, statuses at law. Time's out for that. It's over. Peace and love. Ashe.